Happy Wisdom Wednesday, everyone. So, this week's book of the week is actually the world's best-selling book this year. Dr. Jordan B. Peterson's 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos, has sold over 2 million copies. It's incredibly popular for some silly reason. It's on the New York Times best-selling book list, which should tell you a lot about how reliable that book list is. I bought this book because Dr. Jordan Peterson's a psychologist, and a lot of his work has been centered around the idea of meaning and stories that we've told ourselves for centuries, and what those essentially mean in terms of the worldview that we have around us. Now, he wrote this book providing some guidance and very unpopular questions that you should ask yourself and the world around you to essentially beautify and make it better. Some of those rules are, for example, like stand up with your shoulders back, stand up straight with your shoulders back, compare yourself to who you were yesterday and not to someone else today. And one of the rules that I liked quite a lot was to tell the truth, or at least don't lie. And when it comes to professionals, here's why I think it's an important thing. And I think, one thing that I found when it comes to reading a lot of these books is that the, deeper, more complex and profound books that I've read have actually made me a better professional. More importantly, they've made me a better person and elevated my state of being. So what does it mean to tell the truth? What it means to tell the truth, simply put, is to say something that your internal voice does not oppose or object. And it's very easy to tell when you don't tell the truth, whether it's being in a job that you dislike or doing something that you feel is unethical, but for whatever reason, let's say your boss or a company convinces you that it's okay to bend the rules, you literally feel that your character will degrade. And the problem is that when you don't tell the truth, forget about as a professional, but as a person, you don't allow something within you to come out or be forced out that will allow you to evolve psychologically, physiologically. And let me tell you a little more about that. From the conceptual standpoint, when you volunteer to confront the unknown, you're volunteering yourself to pay consequences in the short term for long-term benefits. You're looking to take new information, and challenge the model of thinking that you already have in your head. The problem with the rational mind is that it quickly elevates things that it feels are true and then starts to believe that they're absolute truths, and that's a dangerous thing. So that's a conceptual aspect of it. From a biological aspect from it, a lot of research has shown that when an organism places itself in a new environment, in a new state of being, the central nervous system finds ways to turn on certain genes and cells to essentially help that organism evolve a bit. So telling the truth is a very important thing. So what happens when you don't tell the truth? Well, when you don't tell the truth, your character starts to degrade a little by little. And the problem with that is that when your character starts to degrade, let's just say that you work at a company and you disagree with something that's being done. And every week, let's say there's a meeting that's held, and you don't put your hand up and oppose whatever is being done. You just don't tell the truth, right? The problem is that your character degrades little by little. And when your character degrades, one day adversity will show up like it normally does in life, and it'll absolutely plow you over. It will mow you over. You do not have a chance. And at that point, you will find ways to try and hide, but then there's nowhere else to hide. And that's when you start to do very, very terrible things. History has shown, whether it's in the early 1900s with World War I, World War II, or even later on in, let's say, business, say Enron, that when you don't tell the truth, you find ways to justify and rationalize doing terrible, terrible, terrible things. And that's why small lies will lead to bigger ones. So it's important to always to tell the truth. Friedrich Nietzsche, whose book I have here, Beyond Good and Evil, really sums it up quite well. And a lot of his books, like this one right here, is just it's full of aphorisms. But one of the things that he says is that you can sum up the character of a man by the amount of truth that he's able to handle. So, I really enjoyed the book. I highly recommend it. But more importantly, ask yourself, have you been telling the truth lately? At work, in your personal life? Ask yourself, are you happy with your job? Are you doing the right thing? Are you doing something that fulfills you? Because the closer you get to the truth, you're looking for new informations to challenge the models that already exist in your head, and the way that you look at the world. And what happens when you do that is that you're volunteering to sacrifice in a way. That's really what finding the truth is, or seeking knowledge, is that you're looking to sacrifice. That's why I constantly have all these books, is that I'm looking for ways to continually sacrifice my thinking to elevate my level of being. Because when you sacrifice, you give up a little bit of order in the short term, so that you put your state of thinking into a state of chaos. But what comes out of that is something that's better, something that's elevated and closer to truth, and more importantly, better for you and better for your character. That's how you strengthen it, so that when adversity really does show up one day, that you're one of those people who has a strong enough character to stand up and oppose injustice, things that are not true, things that are wrong. And you do not allow terrible things to happen, and instead you beautify things around you, and you sort of reduce the amount of suffering in the immediate world of your surroundings. So there's the book of the week. Again, fantastic book. If you like evolutionary psychology, anthropology, science, even a little bit of there's quite a lot of biblical references in here as well, get this book. It's not a religious book. This is not a political book. It is a scientific and psychological approach to life, and I quite enjoyed it. So there's the book of the week. Leave a comment below, and happy Wisdom Wednesday.